So my understanding where Mainvest is at now is they're trying to get their community and themselves and everybody else to push on the regulators for what's happening with Synapse's failure. Because again, Mainvest is like 0.2% of Synapse's business, but they have some founders that had deposited, I guess, deposits to go out to investors, and those didn't get sent because they're locked up with Synapse. I don't know if you guys are in that situation or if your funds are already distributed. So that's fine. The investor funds that are on platform two, like anybody had anything in their wallet, my understanding is that's also locked up because of the whole Synapse thing. So they're trying to get the feds to step in and release funds that are, secured basically by the Fed.
So to make sure I understand what you're saying is so basically someone's going along, they're an investor and they have a wallet. So they have a little bank account basically with Synapse or whoever, that if they choose not to withdraw, because what the heck does it matter if it's in this account or that account, they basically, that money is locked up, right? It's frozen.
Yeah, they have a wallet through Mainvest, and Synapse was the backer for that wallet, basically. So that's caused a whole slew of other issues. Mainvest tried to quickly put in like, hey, who can facilitate the revenue shares? Because those things are, a pain if you have to do them manually. Like I've got a check right here from a founder who just writes checks for her revenue shares that are going out, versus having to do that, just have a platform that facilitate it. So that was their first goal. And then the whole Synapse thing happened too, where they started locking up funds. And they're like, crap. So now they're trying to rapidly, again, work with Synapse and trying to, they can't do anything about those funds because Mainvest doesn't hold them. The regulators have to literally step in since Synapse is going through Chapter 11 bankruptcy right now.
Well, it's too bad. We're not excited about trying to figure out how to distribute all the payments. It could be worse though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm glad that MicroVentures stepped in. I mean, they're one of the platforms that we originally looked at partnering with when I got on the ground in like 2018.
Okay.
Because my business advisor had done so much work with MicroVentures, even, because they're doing pre-IPO offerings back then too, like private accredited only, give you early access before a company goes IPO in a couple of years. And that's been like their bread and butter. But they started out Texas and they helped a bunch of Texas companies that were earlier stage too. They've done loads of distributions and they've had investor management stuff before investment crowdfunding even came out.
This
MicroVentures.
Okay.
And just take a look at their platform. But Mainvest sent out an email too, talking about what MicroVentures offered. But it's basically, they said anybody that was a Mainvest customer or had facilitated their offering on Mainvest and was doing revenue shares, we'll onboard all those investors and the company to our platform, MicroVentures. So, they'd probably need some help making sure that, you guys tell the investors, hey, if you want to get paid, we're going to do that through MicroVentures. You have to set up a MicroVentures account. Very similar to how they set up a Mainvest account. Okay. And when they connect their bank account, then you just pay MicroVentures every single time you want to do a distribution, that one payment for the distribution, whatever the rev share is at that point. And then they just send it out to everybody, just like Mainvest was going to do for you.
Okay. So the formula, the formula for how much we need to pay them, is that just some information we give to MicroVentures and then they'll invoice us basically, here's how much you got to pay, or we're going to drag this much out of your checking account? Or
that's my understanding. I think they're going to operate very similar to Mainvest. It's like our revenue share was X% of revenue. You report how much you did revenue wise. And then they, you just send them a check and then they'll distribute it. You send them a check plus $100, I think is what they said, $100 per distribution point.
Okay. What is a distribution point? Like per
meaning
quarter?
Like you're making a distribution to investors.
So if we do 4 distributions a year, that's 4 distribution points?
Yeah, so $400.
Okay. All right, cool. Great.
You have to look at the docs, but sometimes in a situation like this where an investor is just not responsive, you might have to just set that money aside. And, if there's anybody like that that just doesn't take a distribution and microventures just can't facilitate it, first check with them to see what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But if they're like, we're just not going to distribute those funds till those investors sit on platform, then it's like, okay, well, if those investors don't sit on platform, here's the calculation for what gets sent out to the ones that did. And then you might have to just put that money, the other portion, just ACH it to Mercury, which will cost you nothing. And it just sits there until the investor responds.
Yeah, because that's what'll happen is they won't respond, and then a year from now they'll say, "What the hell's going on?"
Let's try to get everybody onto microventures first.
Yeah, okay.
Like, hey, we want to pay you. We're generating revenue. We want you to come by too, but we want to pay you your revenue share.
Yeah.
This will take, 5 minutes to set up your account. You got to set up your account, add your social because it was an investment again, and add your bank account. And then we're going to distribute to you once a quarter, just like we were on Mainvest.
So what we'll do is then I'll draft an email to the investors, link it to microventures. Onboarding site, we'll call it.
Correct.
All right. And they're only going to charge $400, like $100 a quarter, or $100 to do each one.
$100 per distribution point was what I saw too. I'm gonna go double check that real quick, but that was my understanding.
That's great. That's great.
If you check, Lauren forwarded this back to us on May 22nd.
Okay.
But Mainvest sent out an email with the details around microventures.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
Okay. Okay. So as long as investors attach their bank account, the distributions to them are free. If they for some reason want a wire, of course that would cost them money, but the easiest way is just attach a bank account like they did. Okay. And then, Microventures has done hundreds of millions of distributions to investors in the past. So you just pay them $100 every single time you do a distribution.
Okay. And then somewhere I would have some information from Mainvest as to how the formula is calculated to how much we pay people back.
Correct. What Mainvest committed to was that they were going to send out an email sometime in June. I don't have the exact date, but they were going to give every single business owner that raised on their platform a list of any distributions that have been made, basically the state of which it's in, whether you've made distributions or not. Here's how much has been paid or not. If you haven't done any, here's how much is left. Here's the confirmation of the terms you had. So that would be basically I would think microventures would basically be taking that information for anybody that agrees to sign the engagement letter with them, any founders that do that, and they'll just, operate accordingly.
But somewhere, wouldn't I have in a contract somewhere something spelled out how the formula works, how we pay people back to make it happen over 5 years? Would that be something?
Yes. When you signed up with Mainvest, I'm trying to remember who the gentleman was, but he provided a revenue share calculator on there based on how much was raised.
Okay.
And what the percentage of revenue being shared was.
Yeah.
And so their email and that they're going to send out should match that one basically.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I don't remember. We probably are really close to our next quarterly payment. I'd love to get it done before people aren't waiting. You know what I mean? So I'd love to find it.
Maybe. Yeah, and I think, I'm pretty confident Mainvest had everybody aligned to quarterly distributions on the same quarter. So like January through March, April through June. So the next one I think was within 15 days at the end of the quarter. So it'd be July 15th, I believe.
Okay. All right.
We could double check all that.
You're probably right on the money. Yeah. You're probably right on the money. Okay. So this is all much better than I thought it was going to be. So I see the instructions to contact.
Okay. It was April 14th that we paid out.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. Okay. Good.
So right at 15 days post the quarter. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Boy, they 14 days passed. Yeah. All right. So that's all we're gonna do is I'm just gonna catch up with Microventures, and then before the end of June, I'll have all the information MicroVentures is going to need. And then they will send out, I'll send an email to all the investors
Correct.
with a link to the onboarding process. And then what we will do is we'll ask MicroVentures about creating like a surplus account for all the people that don't end up responding.
Yeah, if they'll do that or how they would handle that basically. And again, I'm happy to jump back on a call so we can talk through that aspect of it because I'm sure it's super nuanced.
Yeah. And I know you got a lot going on with all this.
Well, I hate that this happened to y'all. I hate it happened to Mainvest. I mean, they were really helping out the industry a lot. And so I think it benefits everybody to have detailed answers to these questions because everybody needs, investors and founders need them. So happy to go through it together.